welcome back to my channel. This is Michael. Thank you for clicking on this video. I'm kind of excited about this video because this is the last one in this series of testimony, and to be honest, I feel like I'm living in the past. I'm being obedient to the Lord. I know it's to bring glory to his name and exhibit how he can use the foolish things, extreme foolish, and I'm not even telling, not even an eighth, I guess, of the ignorant situations I chose to put myself in, but God always delivered me, even in my ignorance of him and his existence. I'm not sure what's going to come out in this one, but I'm just completing it, pushing through. This one's going to be titled A Personal Case for Christ, because that's what the next phase of my life became. Just before, I'm sure there was a documentary with A Case for Christ. I went through the same thing, using objective thinking, not caring what the truth is, only wanting it no matter what it is, critical thinking skills to the best of my ability. And just after, I mentioned in another video, after that experience with the car and things like that, and linking it, or seeing just peculiar events in my life, I mentioned in another video how I started asking for signs and talking out loud, just saying, God, I don't know if you're real. I don't know what this stuff is going on, but if you're real, I'd like to know you. And as I mentioned before, interaction, I'd say coincidence, interaction, coincidence, interaction, coincidence, interaction. Okay, God, you're real. And that was my starting point. And I wish I could say, even after I was saved, that from that point it was all sunshine and rainbows, but it wasn't. That's another reason why this particular series, I want to get onto the other stuff he has for me, but it's like the epitome of the backslider. But I'll explain to the best of my ability. After that experience, saying the sinner's prayer, not meaning it in my heart, speaking it with my lips, with my mouth, spoken word, inviting him into my heart, superficially, from there, there's a good amount of years in that period of time, and most of it, to be honest, is and was a blur. Lots of bad decisions, many bad decisions. But even back then, I was always into philosophy, and I'm pretty sure the Lord showed me back then, you must first be young and dumb before you could be old and wise. And that's my hope, that through him, one day, I could be old and wise. I guess I'll get into drug addiction. Wow. Through that whole period of time in my life, I got everyday drinker, marijuana, weed, that's how I call it. That's what I call it. Cocaine, stuff like that. Just having no plan for tomorrow, living every day without care, which it's like, it might as well be dead. You're existing. I was existing. To mention, okay, at one point, this is how I got into pain pills. Just to got into a car accident, actually took someone's car. I used to do that all the time. Wrecked, broke a leg, assaulted a paramedic, things like this. Boom, start taking pain pills, broken leg. Now, this was pain pills were already running rampant down where I'm from, in my family as well. So it went from, the euphoria. I'm sure many can, probably still now, maybe someone listening to this can identify with that. And through all that, this is how nobody wakes up one day and says, I want to be a IV drug user. No, you're doing this, you're doing that. There'll be pills, they'll become expensive. This is more cheap, that's more cheap, before you know it. That's the way it happened for me. That's the way it happened for everybody I knew. In that, that is that's the best I had going on. That's the best I had going on. And nobody really knew, believe it or not. I was always a functioning addict. I always worked hard, overtime. I never had a problem making money. But with all these, while asking God for signs and telling him I want to know him, sounds crazy the most, but that's what happened. If I said anything else, anything other, I would be a liar. Over time, when I acknowledged, okay, God, you're real. I didn't call him my God. I just acknowledged that there was a God. From that point, I began searching and seeking who this God is. Examining different religions, always hitting the Barnes and Noble, buying books, reading books. Excuse me. What I came to the conclusion is there's only one God, and Judaism stood out, or what we call the Old Testament, made the most sense to me. And looking into that, and this is how my mind works, as far as truth seeking, it's like 3 piles. I got the yes pile, the maybe pile, and the discard pile. Whatever truth I have with the evidence I've discovered, support and detail, middle compartment, main idea, ties it together, makes more sense than this truth here, boom, that goes to yes. And that's the truth until something else disproves it. Using the scientific method, always trying to disprove my own theories and prove myself wrong. And that's how I came to Jesus, be honest with you. Trying to disprove him. It was through, after coming to recognize the God of Israel as and the one true living God, the Most High God, Lord God Almighty, and then saying, but I don't know about this Jesus guy, and seeking to prove or invalidate him, especially based on my biases from my childhood and different, just my resentments from interactions with believers and followers of his, basically. I didn't, until that last guy, I knew there was something different about him. He was peculiar like me. What he was saying resonated with me, and how he went about things. To even at the end, he said, when I said the sinner's prayer, he said, all right, you're going to see. I said, all right, we'll see. And I saw. But, so I found the Lord, or he chose me first. I finally reciprocated and acknowledged him. And, in my addictions, and that's just drug addiction. I'm still at this point making very bad choices daily, multiple. I mean, I don't know. When I look back on my life, I've seen people make small mistakes, get in a lot of trouble, and even throughout my life before finding the Lord, receiving Him in my life in salvation, being salvaged, taken from the devil's junk pile and dusted off, and sanctification ensuing. Before all that, I used to always say, something's looking out for me. Just something's looking out for me, and everything always works out for me. Seems to work out for me. I made ignorant decision after ignorant decision after ignorant decision, and somehow, some way, I wasn't paying the penalties for these things. I mean, I was, even when I got in trouble, I didn't get in too much trouble, and I not like I didn't have a family with my family wasn't well off. Didn't have connections. I never had a good lawyer or anything, or I don't know. It just always seemed to work out for me. With that being said, like I say, went to a church, found a church, went up there, said the sinner's prayer again, meant it in my heart. I fell for the close your eyes, raise your hand thing, and then after that, everyone's looking at me, and I had to go up there, basically. But even after that, this is my experience. I mean, I'm still in what I'm in, still living the way I'm living at that time. Even I remember the first time the Lord told me to give to somebody. I remember I had about $70. I remember this like it's yesterday. I had about $70. I'm going to where I'm going to get what I'm going to get. I already planned out what I'm going to get. I'm going to, gas station, get this, and that, and probably $10 in gas, right? And the Lord tells me, I'm sitting at a red light, and He tells me, give that guy $20. This guy walking. And I remember just sitting there like, nope, not hearing anything today. Turn up the radio, trying to block it out. Start, green light, start driving. The further I drive away, as I pass the guy, I started feeling that I started feeling pressure, like anxiety, like what you feel. I don't know if you've had anxiety, where it's just pressure building. The further I got away from this guy, the more intense the pressure got, to where I was like, eventually I just had to do a U-turn real quick, zoom back. Like I said, I wish I could say, oh, I got saved and everything's just great after that. No, it wasn't like that for me. I zoom back, the guy's not there. It's warehouses where he was walking by. I drive in there, hoping I don't find him, so I can say, oh, he's gone, Lord, sorry. Going up and down not going down the aisleways, and boom, there's the guy. So I drive up to the guy, roll down the window, and just tell him, hey, here you go. I'm supposed to give you this $20. And even while he was like, oh, thank you, I said, don't thank me, thank God. I didn't want to give it to you, and hit the gas. I'm out of there. I was kind of pissed off that I had to give. Now I had 50, and that wasn't gonna do what I needed it to do. Many situations like that I could go into. I mean, there's so much I could say, but the Lord always protected me in my ignorance, while still in my ignorance. And out there dating or online, plenty of fishing and all that goes with that. I finally, at one point, met my daughter's mother, right? What I called at that time my baby mama, but that's my daughter's mother. And from there, I thought things were starting to, my life was getting more stable. And I'm passing up all kinds of stuff, maybe I'm sure it's not important for this. Even her, though, she had supernatural experiences. I remember when, after my daughter's born, we're staying in an apartment. It's really efficiency. And she would wake me up in the middle of the night. She woke me up, shaking me, Mike, there's someone in the house. So I creep out there, going to protect and, do whatever I have to do. And nothing, go back. There's no one here. Go to sleep. Next day, she's waking me up. Mike, there's someone in the house. I go out there running this time, even going to the bathroom, pulling back the shower curtain, looking. And I'm thinking, I don't know what she's talking about. Go back. There's nobody here. Third night, it's just another. Third night, she wakes me up without saying anything, just tapping me on the shoulder. I look at her and she points out into the living room because the door was like a sliding door, was opened or in the wall. So, and I'm looking, rubbing my eyes, yeah, sure. And I see like a shadow figure of a person walking, or the silhouette walking through the living room. I run out there, all kind of things like that throughout my life, even with her. So that's two people right there. Go to the whole place, run outside, around the house, looking under cars. Just, where could this person have gone? What is this going on? Anyhow, it came to the point where, like I said, I was always functioning, and I could hide it well, or at least most of the time. But one day, I remember, my daughter was getting a little older, about 2, and I didn't want to live like that anymore. So I went and told on myself, and I found that that's one of the best things I could do, is tell on myself, not, just with loved ones. If we confess and just, I love to tell on myself now. Actually, I don't mind anything being known, because he'll use whatever to bring me closer to him. That's another thing about me. I don't mind, and I actually grown to like being wrong. And I know that's different, because every time I learn that I'm wrong, it's a win, because I grow closer to the truth, or have the opportunity to grow closer to the truth, acknowledge, and the truth is Jesus Christ. That's another thing I want to say. I know this is all random. I can't wait to get through this. That's another thing. He never wanted me to not hold him up. To hold him up. He's the truth. That no matter, and it's not like, oh no, now I know. Now I know that I know that I know, and I know him and he knows me. But for the longest time, I was like, oh no, and people, I hold up any idea to him, because he defeats every idea, every imagination, every disinformation, every piece of disinformation, every lie. He never wanted me to hide him, and oh no, I'm not going to consider this or consider that. He's tangible. He's given me tangible evidence throughout my life, even today. Even more so today, and as time goes forward. He never wanted me to hide him, like under protect him, or like, oh no, I'm not considering anything else. No, he wanted me to put everything up next to him and see what the truth is. And that's the only way that's the only way my faith. I wasn't always, obviously I was a doubting Thomas, and like a Saul to a Paul, but I was never much for blind faith. I required tangible evidence. And he created me to be this way. He wanted me to require tangible evidence. That's the way he wanted me. Anyhow, when I told on myself about where I was at with everything, and I planned on going to get help, and I needed something major and drastic. I already been through drug courts and programs and all kind of, boot camp stuff planned, and which shut down before I went because some kid died. All kind of just at county based addiction recovery or whatever. Nothing worked, and I needed something big. And that's going to lead me to this part of the story. This is where my life changed for the better again. Anyhow, that's when I told on myself, that was the end of that relationship. I thought I was going to get support, and hey, that's my fault. I was the one being ignorant and making all these bad decisions, and I'm not above the consequences. It's cause and effect. Anyhow, that was the end of that. I stopped hearing from my daughter's mother, and that's fine, but it was my daughter being out of my life that really, I was like, I gotta do something. I gotta get my life right. Praying, all kind of things going on at this time too. Dreams, crazy dreams. And before I could actually get to this point, I was just wore down. I didn't want to live anymore, to be honest with you. And at that time, I'm not like this anymore. I haven't been like this for many years. But yeah, I want to take my life this one night. I wasn't crying about it. I didn't tell anybody I was gonna do it. I wasn't warning anybody. I wasn't saying I wasn't feeling good. I was internalizing everything, holding it in. And I remember I got pretty wasted, and I went behind it just at my sister's house, which, embarrassing enough, has been a theme throughout my life. But that's about to change, so I have no shame in that. Sitting behind this shed, that was it. I was done. I was ready to go. Wherever I was going, I was hoping I was going to make it to heaven, but I wasn't sure. But all I knew was the pain was too great. Not to mention everything else within me throughout life, and unworthiness, and feeling unlovable, and feeling all of that tied in with self-pity, denial of my own, how my bad choices are affecting my life, minimizing everything, every bad decision I made, projecting. I stopped projecting on other people. She left me, I wasn't a victim. I never felt like a victim. I still don't. Throughout all the things in my life, I never felt like a victim. But yeah, I didn't take accountability for my own actions as a man. So anyhow, this night, I'm sitting back there. I remember I put the gun to my head and I was ready. And then I heard, and it sounds crazy, I heard, "Stop, I could use you." And then the Lord started playing like vision, but like video almost, in my mind, in my mind's eye, in the forefront of my mind, only way I can explain it. of my sister saying, why don't you go to that place Johnny went to? Why don't you go to that place Johnny went? Over and over and over and over and over in my head. And I was just like, and Johnny is like a family friend. My mother and his mother grew up together, long story short, like a cousin, but lost touch with him. I remember I sat out there for a long time, just letting it all out. Because at that point, I wasn't going anywhere. So I remember going back in the house and just saying, I seen my sister. I said, hey, I think I'm going to go to that place Johnny went to. She's like, yeah, I've been telling you. I'm like, yeah, I know. Let's find that place. We look online, looking for a Christian rehab, right? Because I needed something drastic at that point. I didn't just need the drug addiction to go away. I needed healing. I needed structure. I needed a whole new way of life. And at that, I would recommend the place at that time, but I won't recommend it now. I'm just saying that. Anyhow, we couldn't find it. Couldn't find the name of this place. The number, even the number to him, to Johnny, gone. It was years. I remember I went to sleep that night. Really, I passed out. But before I passed out, I remember saying, God, if you want me to go to this place, let me hear. Tell me the name. And boom, I passed out. In the middle of the night, my eyes opened. The name popped out of my mouth, and I stood up real quick, like, whoa. It's not even the name. I don't think I've ever said this name. Maybe heard it once or twice, and I just knew that I was supposed to go. Even when I called that place, and I explained, hey, yeah, I need to come there. And they're like, we don't have any beds open. And I said, well, I'm quitting my job today. And they're like, don't quit your job today. I said, well, I'm going somewhere. The Lord's gonna make room for me somewhere. Or I said, God's gonna make a place for me somewhere. Ended up going, quit my job. They said, call me back the next day. Quit my job because I'm going somewhere. I wasn't gonna make it. At that point. I called the next day, and just so happens somebody got up and left in the middle of the night. One spot open, and boom, that was for me. And I got there. If I could get there by, I think, the next day or whatever. Went there, a year later. The Lord got me all cleaned up. Lots of stuff happened in there. Different things, different signs. Other people seeing my father visit me there. Crazy stuff. What is that? That's the Lord. That's a sign. Different things. But that's not important right now. I leave that place. End up in Orlando, halfway house. From halfway house with a bicycle, working 2 jobs, sleeping maybe a bicycle on the bus system, maybe half hour a day for like 6 months. 6 months to get things going. I fumbled there like I always fumble. Meeting the wrong woman. Move in with this woman. Just shenanigans. My life is shenanigans over and over again. I'm not proud of it. I'm just happy to get through this, to be honest with you. With this woman a few years. Not a bad person, if they ever heard this. Not a bad person, just not for me. And the truth is, it comes from fornication, sleeping around. That's what it was. I shouldn't have been living with a woman, not being married. And even in that situation, for a couple of years, I said, everything's good now. When I tell you, or I used to tell her, there's something you're not telling me. You gotta tell me. And no, there's nothing. Okay, but there's something you. Okay. Like probably about 10 times. Now, when I say that, I want to mention that also I had every day, look, breakfast in bed if it was a day off. If it was my day to work, all my food made, coffee made, massages all the time, my clothes laid out, this brought out, oh, I don't like that, can you get me that shirt instead? Boom. I didn't even have to wash myself in the shower, which is like treated like, to the world, that's like being treated like a king, which is good. It was great. I'm not saying I'm looking for that, but there was something off. It wasn't until, and I'm praying, and the Lord kept telling me, the Holy Spirit would tell me, leave. And I would act like I didn't hear him. Put on music. Oh, let me wash these little bit of dishes. Let me help out around the house. And oh, you act like you want to act like you don't hear me? Like that kind of thing. Then it would be every 2 days. Like 2 days till I heard him again. And that, if I don't have the Lord in my life, if I can't hear from him, I've said in the past, like, I'd rather not be here. Like 2 days turn to 4 days, 4 days, a week to 2 weeks, 2 weeks to a month. Now I'm not hearing from the Lord at all. And I start to unravel as far as drinking. Alcohol is always in the house. It's just the way it went. I end up even I was going to church, tried to bring her and everyone else to church. Anyhow, but the Lord was not in this, and he wanted me to run, but I didn't listen. I was trying to fix it. Even going to men's group meetings, and anyhow, that was a blessing in disguise, because it got real in there where it was not real, and it ended up being real good. Anyways, it wasn't till it actually took now, and also, yeah, found me in the halfway house. Before you knew it, I'm working hard, this that, get the car, get a better job, got a better job, and then a better job. I never had a problem with having at least a couple thousand, in the account. This much hidden over here, this much hidden over there in the house, just in case anybody need. What I'm saying, I was thriving, I was being blessed. But then when the Lord told me to go, actually I shouldn't have been in that situation. That's when it started unraveling. That things fell apart. It took this woman's mother coming to visit, and actually telling me one day, the woman confessed to me she was still married legally, and that's what it was. One day we went to church, on the way back, she's like, I gotta tell you something. I'm like, yeah, I know, I've been telling you got something to tell me. Anyways, that she was legally married. And I'm like, why wouldn't you just tell me that? Which led me, anyhow, it's not important to going down the trail, but it's the fact that with honesty, anything could be overcome. I've learned that about relationships. For most things can be overcome. Most things. If we just, again, tell on ourselves, confess, and be real. Long story short, I shouldn't have been. If I wasn't sleeping around, getting into situationships, I wouldn't have ended up in adultery, legit adultery, and all kind of other sin unraveled. I should have listened to the Lord. I should have never put myself in a position where he would have to tell me to leave. And anyhow, it took that woman's mother one day before she left come to me and she said, Michael, you know why you're here? I said, why am I here? Because I don't know. And she said, you're here because I prayed for many years for God to send me a true man of God, what she called me, for my daughter. And she said, at first I didn't know about you when I heard about you, but you are a man of God, and she doesn't deserve you. I want you to save your money. At this time, I didn't have all that money saved up. I was just, anyhow. Save your money, and when it's time, leave her. Leave her. I never heard it. I never heard that before. I never heard anybody with that kind of experience. So I did that. Long story short, I made bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. Even after salvation. Poor decision. And even when the Holy Spirit was telling me to run, but every time I repented, I was blessed again. The Lord never left me. He never forsaken me. And if it wasn't for Jesus Christ, I definitely would not be here today. Many times over. When I say like the experience on the last video with the car and the headlights, I count that as one of the times. I mean, did he save my life? But kinda, because he really saved my life many times. I mean, really saved my life. Even, like I said, by my own hand, overdose back in the day, bathroom, overdose, standing up at the sink, fall down, smack my head on the tub, and knowing that I'm like, don't let me die on this bathroom. Don't let me die on the bathroom floor, God. Don't let me die on the bathroom floor. And after a while, being able to climb up on the toilet, bleeding. I mean, to being poisoned multiple times. All kind of different situations. I'm just saying, if it wasn't for Jesus Christ, I would not be here. And another thing I would like to say, and this is the truth, before my life, this life has been an adventure for real. But my life before was the equivalent of eating cardboard. Now that I look at it, eating cardboard, existing like, oh yeah, life's good, crunch. But with a personal relationship with the Father through the Lord Jesus Christ, it's like eating a juicy peach in the summertime. And even in the hard times, it's good. And everything, he causes everything to work for the good of those who love him or are called according to his purpose. Even since then, when I left that woman, finally, that's when I wound up in the place where all the Morgellon stuff happened. So it's kind of full circle, leaving out all kind of stuff. But I just want to acknowledge that, I mean, God is good. And if he could use someone like me, and for whatever purpose he has for me, I can only imagine how he can use others who are... Now, he told me not to talk down about myself anymore. He told me that the other day. He said he won't have it. He won't have it. But if he could use someone like me, hard-headed and persistent, I just say, how could he use you? And how many people could he reach with you? And what amazing things could he do through you? And that's all I got for this one. So, all right, y'all. Love you. Talk to you later.